Over the last few weeks, a wave of Social Security updates has been rolling out in the quietest way possible. No dramatic announcement, no giant headlines splashed across your screen, just revised policy language, updated internal guidance, and small changes tucked into official notices that most people never have time to read. And that is exactly why this moment is so dangerous for the average household. When changes arrive quietly, people assume they are not important. They assume they do not apply to them. They assume it is future me problem. But with Social Security, small rule shifts can snowball into missed benefits, unexpected delays, or paperwork traps that cost real money. Right now, the confusion is coming from both directions at the same time. Some people are panicking because they have heard rumors that checks are being cut immediately, or that the program is suddenly ending, or that everyone will be forced into a new system overnight. That is not what is happening. On the other side, many people are shrugging, saying nothing ever changes, it will be fine, it does not matter, and the rules are the rules. That is also not the full truth. The reality sits in the middle, and the middle is where people get hurt when they do not understand what is shifting. The program is not disappearing tomorrow, but the way the system decides who qualifies, when claims move forward, and how benefits are verified is changing in ways that can absolutely affect your money and your timeline. And this is happening at a time when the pressure on households is still intense. Prices have not magically returned to the way they used to be. Rent remains high in many places. Medical care keeps getting more expensive. Groceries are still a weekly stressor for millions. For a lot of people, Social Security is not extra. It is the foundation. It is the difference between stability and panic, between filling a prescription and putting it off, between keeping up with bills and falling behind. That is why technical adjustments do not feel technical in real life. When the rules around eligibility, verification, and enforcement tighten, people feel it in their bank accounts, their mailboxes, and their stress levels. The most important thing to understand is that many of these updates are not framed as a single dramatic overhaul. They are targeted, they are procedural. They change how reviews happen, how income is tracked, how documentation is requested, and how quickly the system flags something as needing attention. That may sound boring until you realize what it means. It means that the same person with the same benefit type may have had a smooth experience a few years ago, but today could face additional checks, extra delays, or requests for documents that were not demanded before. It means that planning based on old assumptions is becoming riskier, and it means that the people who lose out are often not the people doing anything wrong. They are the people who did not know the rules had quietly shifted. Let's start with the big area that triggers the most surprises: eligibility verification. In the past, many people treated eligibility like a one-time gate. You work enough years, you earn enough credits, you reach the right age, and you assume the system will simply confirm it. What is changing is the intensity and frequency of cross-checking. Work credits are being validated more carefully against updated wage records. Employment gaps are drawing more attention. Inconsistencies that used to be resolved later, or that simply never triggered a follow-up, are now more likely to generate a request for clarification. This does not automatically mean you are denied. It often means your claim slows down while the system confirms details. But when you are relying on that income to start on time, a delay is not a small inconvenience. It is late rent. It is late utilities. It is a month of scrambling. Now let's talk about income, because this is where a lot of people get blindsided, especially those who keep working while collecting benefits. The rules around work and benefits have existed for a long time, but enforcement is becoming faster and more automated. Side income matters more. Part-time work matters more. Freelance payments matter more. And the margin for error is smaller. When the system catches a mismatch between reported earnings and what shows up through wage reporting, it can trigger a review. In earlier years, people sometimes found out months later. Now, flags can happen much sooner, and the outcome often feels harsh because it arrives as a reduced check or an overpayment notice instead of a gentle warning. Even when the mistake was not intentional, the correction can still feel like punishment. If you are living on a fixed income, having money taken back later is not just frustrating, it can be devastating. Timing has also become more sensitive, and this is where many people make choices that are hard to undo. The full retirement age has not suddenly jumped overnight, but the system is becoming less forgiving about assumptions around when you claim and what that means for your long term benefit. Early claiming still comes with a permanent reduction, but the emphasis on informed acknowledgement is stronger. Delayed claiming can still increase your benefit, but the verification and processing steps can feel more rigid. In practical terms, the system is rewarding careful planning and punishing casual decisions. People used to think, I will file when it feels right, and I can always adjust later. In many cases, adjusting later is harder than people realize, and the consequences of claiming early can follow you for life. Disability and survivor benefits are also feeling the effects of tighter procedures. If you are applying for disability, documentation matters more than ever. Medical evidence must be consistent, current, and detailed. Reviews can be more frequent for some recipients, and follow-up requests for updated records can arrive sooner. This does not mean people are being removed en masse, but it does mean that approvals can take longer, and continued eligibility can require more responsiveness. When you are already dealing with health issues, extra paperwork and repeated evaluations are not just a nuisance. They are an added burden at the worst time. For survivors and spouses, coordination rules can also create surprises. Some cases are seeing more careful review of benefit overlap and household details, and that can affect start dates or recalculated amounts. Sometimes the change is small, sometimes it is not. Either way, unpredictability makes it harder to plan. So why are these changes happening now, especially as we move through 2026? The official explanation tends to sound the same across many updates: sustainability, modernization, and reducing improper payments. More people are reaching retirement age. People are living longer. The ratio of workers paying in compared to beneficiaries receiving benefits has been shifting over time. Leaders often point to long-term funding strain and say the system must run more efficiently. Instead of announcing broad benefit cuts, which would spark outrage and fear, the approach often becomes procedural. Tighten verification, improve cross-checking, catch errors faster, reduce overpayments, encourage accurate reporting, encourage later claiming by making the consequences of early claiming clearer. From a system perspective, that can protect the program. From your perspective, it can feel like the ground is moving under your feet. One of the hardest parts of this moment is that not everyone experiences these updates the same way. Some changes mainly affect new applicants. Some changes only activate during periodic reviews. Some changes are triggered by an income change, a move, a banking update, or a request for a different benefit type. That is why two people can have almost identical situations and still get very different outcomes. One person applies and everything flows smoothly. Another person applies a short time later and gets flagged for extra verification. One person reports side income correctly and never hears a thing. Another person forgets a detail and the system reacts with a repayment notice later. That inconsistency makes people feel like the process is random, but in most cases, it is not random. It is rule-based, data-based, and increasingly automated. And that word, automation, is the hinge point you need to understand. Modernization sounds like a positive, harmless upgrade, but in practice it often means fewer judgment calls and more system-driven decisions. A person might have looked at your situation in the past and understood what you meant, or spotted a simple error and helped you fix it. A system does not interpret intentions. A system reads fields, compares records, checks thresholds, and triggers actions. When a system decides something needs review, it does not care whether you were confused or whether you misunderstood a form. That is why reading every letter matters. That is why logging into your account and checking messages matters. That is why keeping your records accurate matters more than it used to. Now let's slow down the fear for a moment and be clear about what is not happening. Checks are not stopping overnight. Social Security is not vanishing tomorrow. Cost of living adjustments still exist as part of the structure. People are still receiving benefits every month. The program is still operating. But what is changing is how tight the process is, how quickly discrepancies are caught, and how much responsibility falls on you to stay current. The old habit of set it and forget it is becoming less safe. And if you rely on this income, staying informed is not optional, it is protection. So, what does this mean for you personally? It depends on where you are in your Social Security journey. If you are already retired, your income is stable, and you are not working, you may feel very little. But you still need to be alert for notices, because periodic reviews, address updates, banking changes, or identity verification requests can still happen. If you are planning to claim soon, timing becomes more important. Your work record accuracy becomes more important. If you are working while collecting, your income reporting becomes critical, especially if you have side work or seasonal earnings. If you are applying for disability or managing survivor benefits, documentation and responsiveness become the difference between smooth processing and months of delay. Here is the practical reality. The safest approach right now is not panic. It is preparation. Start with your records. Make sure your work history and earnings record reflect what you actually earned and where you earned it. If something is missing, it can slow down eligibility confirmation later. Pay attention to any letters or portal messages, especially ones that sound routine, because routine language can still contain deadlines. If you have income while collecting, keep clean documentation. Track what you earn. Understand how it is reported. Even small mistakes can create big headaches later when the system decides you were overpaid. If you are applying for disability, keep medical records organized and current, and be ready for follow-ups without assuming silence means approval is guaranteed. Also, watch out for misinformation traps, because they are everywhere right now. Some posts take a real policy update and twist it into a claim that everyone is losing benefits immediately. Other posts dismiss changes completely and tell people they can ignore everything. Both messages can hurt you. The truth is that the system is tightening, and tightening means details matter. The people who do best in a tightening system are not the loudest or the luckiest. They are the most prepared. They keep their information accurate. They respond quickly to requests. They understand how timing decisions affect long-term money, and they do not wait until a problem hits their account to learn what changed. If you take only one message from all of this, let it be this: quiet changes are still real changes. A rule update that sounds administrative can still change your monthly benefit outcome. A faster enforcement system can turn a small reporting mistake into a painful repayment demand. A tighter review process can turn a normal claim into a delayed claim. None of that means you are powerless. It means you need to be proactive. It means you need to treat your Social Security information like you treat your bank information, something you check, something you keep accurate, and something you do not ignore. And here is how this ends, in the most honest and calm way possible. These updates are not a one-day event. They are a shift in how the program operates going forward. Over the coming months, more people will get routine-looking notices. More accounts will be reviewed. More decisions will be pushed through systems designed to reduce errors quickly, not to explain the process gently. That means your best defense is attention. Check your records. Verify your information. Keep your documentation. Read every letter. Respond on time. The biggest mistakes rarely come from bad intentions. They come from assuming nothing has changed. You do not need fear to take this seriously. You need clarity. Social Security is still here, but the rules around verification and enforcement are becoming stricter and more automated. The people who stay informed will adapt. The people who prepare early will protect their income. And the people who ignore the changes will be forced to react later when choices are narrower and stress is higher. If you depend on these benefits, staying informed is not just smart, it is security.